Before we start, I'd like to remind everybody once again that there are a few polls up on my channel. I added a few more last night. They are the Chico MMA Awards of 2022. What that is just kind of the end of year awards so that the people can vote. Who do you think was the best commentator of this year? Who do you think was the better referee out of these four? Who do you think had the best octagon interview? Just things like that. I'm going to make a video about it at the end of 2022. Each of the winners are going to come off of the people's votes, and you can see here who is winning so far. Whoever wins each poll, the nominee that wins, they're going to be the winner according to Chico MMA, the YouTube channel. So go ahead and vote because I want to hear your guys' opinions now. Cannonier versus Sean Strickland. A fight that was supposed to take place in October 15th. Almost dead in the middle of October. But it had to be canceled because Sean Strickland got an injury in his hand. Got some kind of infection. Had to get surgery. And now, only 2 months later, he's coming back to fight. Pretty impressive. Got to give it to him. And got to give it to both these guys that this fight was even rescheduled. Because I remember when this fight was first canceled, I thought, damn, I was really looking forward to this. And now it's probably not going to be rescheduled or rebooked. It's probably not going to happen again. But, they proved me wrong. And I'm very glad they did because I'm super excited for this fight. And it's even better that it's the last, the last fight night of the year, the last card of the year, last event of the year. And I'm glad that they made this card decently stacked for a fight night for the last event of the year, because there's not going to be another one for another 3 weeks, because next weekend is Christmas. The weekend after that is New Year's. The weekend after that, people are still going to be hangover, drunk from New Year's. So, things like this just happen. It is what it is. We move on and we move into the predictions. David Dvorak versus Manel Kape. Manel Kape is a minus 250 favorite right now going into this fight from Portugal, going against the number 9th ranked David Dvorak, looking to climb the rankings here. If we go to both of their pages, David Dvorak and Manel Kape. Okay. David Dvorak, number 9 ranked in flyweight right now, coming off of a loss from Matheus Nicolau by unanimous decision this past March. This was his most recent fight. His most recent win came in May of 2021, which is a pretty crazy stat considering he's still ranked top 10 at flyweight. So, I guess that's just how it is being at the top of flyweight. But we move on to Manel Kape, who is coming off of 2 back-to-back first-round finishes from Ode Osborne and the recently retired Zalgis Zumagulov, both coming in the 4th minute of the first round. Back-to-back in 2021. Hasn't had a fight in a year in 10 days. Not 10 days. 13 days. Almost 2 weeks more than a year later. He is finally going to be returning to the octagon after having a few cancel fights, against Sumer Darji and Rogerio. So, who do I think is going to win this fight? I'm going to have to agree with the odds makers here. I think Manel Kape wins by knockout, technical knockout, any kind of just hand finish, KO. Probably going to be flashy. And I think it'll be in the second round. And here's why. Let me tell you why. David Dvorak, I said it already, hasn't had a win in many, many months, over a year and a half actually. And if we look at his all of his recent wins, you can see, okay, rear naked choke in the first round, impressive, but unanimous decision, and those were just in the past 2 years, 3 years. If we look at Manel Kape, his past few wins have all been first round knockout, second round knockout. If we look at his first 2 fights in the UFC, obviously he lost, but these losses were unanimous decisions and split decisions. In his only first 2 fights, they were against some of the top flyweights in the world, like Matheus Nicolau, like Alexandre Pantoja, who have finished some of guys who are higher ranked than Manel Kape right now in way quicker time, or have finished them at all, like they weren't able to finish Manel Kape. What does this say about Manel Kape? It says that he's fought way higher level guys, and he's done way better against the way higher level guys than David Dvorak. He's also gotten some pretty impressive finishes, more impressive than David Dvorak, I would argue. I think he takes this fight by knockout in the second round instead of the first, because it will be a step up in competition nonetheless. There is a chance that Dvorak wins, but I would safely bet my money on Manel Kape. We move on to Maheshate versus Rafa Garcia. I don't actually know how to pronounce Maheshate's name. I hope I'm saying it right, so I'm not going to say it too much because I don't want to butcher it or say it wrong that much. But if we look at this fight, 9-1 Maheshate versus 14-3 Rafa Garcia. Maheshate got his win, his first win, and got into the UFC off of the Contender Series by unanimous decision win. And on the UFC 275 undercard for Teixeira versus Prohaska, he was able to win by first round knockout in the first minute of the first round. I already said that, first round knockout. Okay, so he fought 6 months ago. Very impressive debut in the company. We go on to Rafa Garcia. Who do I think will win the fight? We're not there yet. We got to look at him first. Okay, so he's 2-3 in the UFC. His last fight was a unanimous decision loss to Drakkar Klose on the 277 undercard. Pena versus Nunes, the rematch this past July, very end of July, last day of July, I'm pretty sure it was. And his last win was this past April by rear naked choke in the second round. If we look at his last fights, his last wins and losses, most of them have been by unanimous decision. If we look at Maheshate, right now he is on a little bit of hype, coming off of a first round knockout win on a pay-per-view undercard. That's pretty big for your career. And even before that, he was getting very impressive wins. Obviously, there was this loss, but this was only loss in his career. So who do I think takes this fight? I'm going to have to go with Maheshate. I think he takes it by second round knockout or technical knockout. It's my prediction. Okay, Said Nurmagomedov versus Said Yokub Kakramonov. I did not practice that name. My apologies. If we look at these two fighters here, Said Nurmagomedov recently entered the bantamweight rankings at number 15 this past week, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was this past week. Actually, it was just a few days ago. I think it was on Wednesday they updated the rankings instead of Tuesday. They came a little bit late with the rankings. But if we look at both these guys, Said Nurmagomedov, number 15 right now. He's coming off of a unanimous decision win this past July against Douglas Silva de Andrade. He's also coming off of a win against Cody Stamann by guillotine choke in the first round on a pay-per-view undercard this past January. He's on 3-fight winning streak. One of them was by knockout. One of them was by submission. One of them was by decision. So now we look at his opponent. Let me try to say it again. Kakramonov. Okay, Kakramonov. He's 2-0 in the UFC right now. His most recent wins have been Ronnie Lawrence by unanimous decision, Trevin Jones, Tyson Lin. He's on a 4-fight winning streak right now, which is one more than Said Nurmagomedov's 3-fight winning streak. This is an important fight for this guy's career because if he wins this, he will enter the bantamweight rankings most likely. So, based on their last few fights, who do I think is going to win? I think it just has to be Said Nurmagomedov. And I think it'll be by a decision, any kind of decision. I feel like I'm leaning more towards a unanimous decision win for this fight. Now, Jake Matthews versus Matt Semmelsberger. This is a fun fight. If we open their tabs, one of them got Matthew as a last name. One of them got Matthew as a first name. The Celtic kid, Jake Matthews, young guy. I know he's 28 actually. He's not super young right now. Well, he's young for the UFC. Okay, 11-5 in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, coming off of a win against Andre Fialho in the UFC 275. I think it was on the main card. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was on the main card. It was pay-per-view. So a lot of people got to watch this fight. So it put a lot of eyes on Jake Matthews, gave him a little bit of hype. He's also had wins against Diego Sanchez, which is pretty impressive. Now we move on to Semi the Jedi, Matt Semmelsberger. He's coming off of a loss against Alex Morono this past July 30th on the Pena Nunes 2 undercard. Before that, he was on a 2-fight winning streak. One of them was by a crazy knockout, 15 seconds into the very first round. That's pretty crazy knockout. And you'll kind of see this weird pattern in Matt Semmelsberger's career. Okay, loss unanimous decision, win unanimous decision, win by 15-second knockout. Okay, loss unanimous decision, win by 16-second knockout. You know, just very interesting UFC career. So, I mean, who do I think takes the fight? I think Jake Matthews takes it, and I think he takes it by a unanimous decision. But it's very possible that Matt Semmelsberger comes in with some kind of right hand from hell and knocks Jake Matthews out. It's possible. Maybe 15 seconds into the first round, maybe late into the third round. Just know that the power is there and that it's likely that a knockout happens on the side of Semmelsberger and on the side of Jake Matthews. It's possible, but I think it'll be kind of back and forth. So just keep that in mind, that it could be back and forth or it could be over before you know it. Cody Brundage versus Michael Oleksejczuk. I'll just call him Hussar. Cody Brundage versus Hussar. We are moving on to the main card now. This is the 6th fight of the main card. Yep. No, that's Jake Matthews. 6th fight of the main card. Jake Matthews Semmelsberger was the featured prelim. So now we move on to Cody Brundage, 8-2, 2-1 in the UFC. Had a fight on the Contender Series, lost. Still made it into the UFC anyways. Lost his debut, but is now on a 2-fight winning streak, both being submissions in the first round. His last win came in July of 2022. And it's looking good for him in his career so far. We look at his opponent from Poland. He is 5-3 in the UFC with 1 no contest. His last win was against Sam Alvey in the, I think it was the Jamal Hill and Thiago Santos undercard. This was the fight that sent Sam Alvey out of the UFC and got him cut from the promotion at last. His fight before that was against Justin Jacoby on UFC 272 undercard. He lost that fight by unanimous decision. But before that, he got a first-round knockout win, also on a pay-per-view. So, I think in his last 6, he's 3-3. So, based on looking at both of these fighters, who do I think wins this fight next? This next fight? I think it'll be Cody Brundage. And I think it'll be, because look, you look at the Polish guy's record and his wins. See a lot of knockouts. You know, first round. It's just a common thing that you'll see. He gets a lot of knockouts, a lot of finishes, but he also gets quite a few losses. He gets caught in some of these chokes, in some of these submissions, or he just isn't unable to do enough in order to win a decision. Or even when he does win a decision, it's way too close, just like the split decision here. When you look at Cody Brundage, a lot of submissions in his recent fights. So I think what will happen is, even with Hussar's pretty decent power, I think Cody Brundage will catch him somewhat off guard. He'll catch him off guard, get some kind of takedown, sink in some kind of submission, and he'll get it done in the first round. That's my prediction for that fight. Now we move on to Drew Dober versus Bobby Green. This is my fight of the night. This is many people's fight of the nights. And if we open both of their fighter pages, they're very evenly matched. Drew Dober was ranked number 15 a few weeks ago, and then he got kicked off the week after. So, pretty sad to see. He's 11-7 in the UFC right now. He's had, this is 20th bout in the promotion, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is 20th fight in the promotion against Bobby Green. Now he's coming off of a win against Rafael Rafael Alves on the Penny Nunes 2 undercard. You're going to see a lot of guys from the Penny versus Nunes 2 undercard, I feel like. But yeah, it was my third round hook to the body after a nice fight. He beat Terrence McKinney as well. He's coming off a 2-fight winning streak. If we look at Bobby Green, he is 29-13-1 in his professional career. He is 10-8 with 1 draw in the UFC, coming off of a loss against Islam Makhachev in February. Everybody remembers that fight. Obviously, Bobby Green also popped for steroids, and he was cut from the promotion. He wasn't cut from the promotion. He was removed from the roster. He was put on suspension for 6 months, but I'm pretty sure his suspension got limited, and he was released last week, it was a few days ago that he was added back to the roster, and it's official. He will be fighting Drew Dober. Who do I think wins this fight? It's close. And whoever wins this fight, I think by the end of the year, they'll pass either Tony Ferguson or Grant Dawson in the rankings by entering at either number 15 or number 14. I think it's only right that the winner of this fight gets some kind of ranking. So who would I take in this fight? It's close. But me personally, I'd have Drew Dober winning by unanimous decision. I feel like he's been more active so far. Even their opponents have been just somewhat even in skill, but I just feel like Drew Dober and his winning streak and being more active is going to be able to outclass a Bobby Green that is now off of PEDs and coming off of a loss from many months ago. But that's just me personally, my opinion. That's what I think is going to happen. We move on to Alex Caceres versus Julian Erosa. Now, Alex Caceres was formerly ranked number 15 in featherweight, and it was after the Holland versus Thompson fight night where his ranking was replaced at 15 by Jonathan Pierce. So what happens now is Alex Caceres is unranked. His record in the UFC is 14-11. And if we look at his last few fights, his last fight was this past March. It was a loss against Sadiq Yusuf by unanimous decision. Before that, he had gotten many, many wins. He was able to get an impressive 5-fight winning streak, and 1 loss and some inactivity was just, sadly, it was enough to set him back off of the rankings. But if we look at Julian Erosa, 6-5 in the UFC, currently on a 3-fight winning streak. Unanimous decision, split decision, Darce choke. I think they both lost. No, Alex Caceres was able to beat Sungwoo Choi, but Julian Erosa was not. They were pretty close in when they happened as well. They happened within a 4-month time span. Pretty questionable, but again, that was last year. If we're looking at this year and who I think is going to personally win this fight, I'd have... And here's the thing. This is a hard fight for me to call. I think it'll be some kind of split decision. And even still, I haven't really made up my mind off of what this is going to be. If I had to pick one... If I had to pick one, of these guys to win, guys, this is a tough one to pick in my opinion. I don't know. If I had to pick one right now, I'd pick. No. Give me some time. Okay, let me just look. Again, let me try to remember their fights, their past few fights. Here's the thing. Julian Erosa, in the fights against Nate Landwehr and Sungwoo Choi, showed kind of a questionable chin. Not super questionable, but he got dropped in both of those fights. Even when he was dominating Landwehr with his striking, Landwehr was still able to manage to clip Julian Erosa and drop him with one shot. Even if Erosa got the win right after, it's still pretty crazy that happened there. There's also this 3-fight losing skid where he had 2 losses by knockout. One of them was in in the first round, in the first minute of the fight as well. And one of them was by a brutal head kick. So Julian Erosa, somewhat kind of questionable chin, whereas Alex Caceres hasn't gotten knocked out in a long time. I mean, the last time he got knocked out was in 2015. Granted, it was in 21 seconds, but it was also 7 years ago, 7.5 years ago. Who do I think is going to win this fight? It's a tough one to call. But, you know, I had Erosa in my mind going into this, but I don't know. It's just the winning streak and everything. It's a tough one to call, but I'll say Alex Caceres. Or no, I'll say Julian Erosa. No, I'll say... Man, half this video just been me, like, contemplating who's going to win this fight in particular. Shit. It's a tough one to call. Damn, this is tough to call. Nah. I'll say Erosa. I'm going to say Erosa by split decision. Like, specifically split decision, not unanimous. It will be split decision. That's my guess there. Amir Albazi versus Alessandro Costa. No. Alessandro no Costa. Okay. Versus the Prince, Amir Albazi. Who do I think will win this fight? Well, on one side, you have the number 8th ranked flyweight in the world right now. And on the right side, you have a guy like Alessandro Costa, who is unranked coming into this fight on somewhat of a short notice. If you look at both of their fights, Amir Albazi, let's look here. Amir Albazi, 15-1. His only loss, okay, we got to go back up. His only loss came in 2019 in Brave CF 23. It was by unanimous decision, so he's never gotten knocked out professionally. And he's on a 4-fight winning streak, 3-fight winning streak in the UFC, 3-0 in the UFC. Triangle choke in the first round, unanimous decision against the recently retired Zhalgas Zhumagulov, and a rear naked choke win against Francisco Figueiredo on the UFC 278 undercard this past August. Versus Alessandro Costa, who has a lot of knockouts on his record and a lot of pretty impressive finishes. I kind of want to see the odds for their fight. Okay, Amir Albazi is a big favorite, which I think is it's pretty interesting because Alessandro Costa isn't just your ordinary unranked flyweight. Costa's good. He has a lot of impressive finishes on his record, impressive fights on his record. And who do I think will win the fight? Here's the thing. Costa has power. Costa has good power in his hands. Costa could end the fight if he wanted to by a knockout. But the thing with Amir Albazi, he's never gotten knocked out. Another thing with Amir Albazi is he's got good ground game. I think what will happen is Alessandro Costa being the less experienced fighter and having fought less kind of top guys, I think Amir Albazi will kind of catch him off guard. Same thing with the Brundage fight that I talked about earlier. I think he'll get a submission in the first round. It's my prediction for Albazi Costa. Now, the co-main event, very good fight we have here. Sarukian versus Damir Ismagulov. Such a good fight. So excited for this one. 18-3, 24-1. I think officially Sarukian is ranked 11th or 10th, and Ismagulov is ranked 11th or 12th. Now let's look at Sarukian, 5-2 in the UFC, coming off of obviously a controversial loss against Mateusz Gamrot this past June on a UFC fight night. He has not fought in around 6 months. He's making his comeback now, trying to climb his way back up to the rankings in a fight that a lot of people believe that he should have won, including myself. I thought he won that fight, but I guess these things just happen. Damir Ismagulov, 5 fights in the UFC, 5 wins, all by decision. I'm pretty sure, yeah, they're all by decision. He's 24-1, which is a very impressive record. His only loss was a unanimous decision as well, so he's never been knocked out. But I think I just want you guys to look at the difference in their fights. If you look at Sarukian in 2021 and in 2022, he was getting finishes. He was getting fight of the nights, going towards a Mateusz Gamrot, who is a top lightweight right now, and getting knockout wins against Joel Alvarez and Christos Giagos. He also beat Matt Frevola, which is a very impressive win. So that aged pretty well. If we look at the Damir Ismagulov, unanimous decision, unanimous split decision in his last fight against an unranked Guram Kutayladze, which is still a pretty good fighter. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just unsure if Ismagulov has the same top level guy experience. Obviously, he has more wins, he has more total fights. So he's probably the more experienced guy in general in terms of just fighting. But Arman Sarukian's gotten against guys like Islam Makhachev, current champion, Matt Frevola, current top guy. Not really top like contender, just, impressive finisher and impressive fighter. Joel Alvarez, same thing. Mateusz Gamrot, top 10 lightweight in the world right now. Damir Ismagulov's best win is still either Thiago Moises or Kutayladze, which one of them was by a split decision. So it was a close fight, I'm assuming. You got one finish kind of TKO win here, but it was by an arm injury. Not even an arm bar, just an arm injury, and had to be stopped. His last finish came by the last 20 seconds of the entire fight, and it was in 2017. So, impressive, or I wouldn't say impressive, it's still impressive. I mean, the winning streak speaks for itself. It's a pretty big winning streak. But I do have to say it's a very interesting winning streak. And who do I think is going to win this fight? First, I really want to see who's the favorite. Okay, Arman Sarukian is a slight minus 190 favorite in this fight, which makes sense. And who do I think is going to win it? I think I have Sarukian by some kind of decision. I don't see it going to finish. It's possible that Sarukian gets that finish, maybe in a late round. I don't see the same thing happening for Ismagulov. If either of them were to win, though, it's most likely going to be a decision. Now the main event. Jared Cannonier versus Sean Strickland. And if we look at the odds, very even. Very, very even odds. People are very split on what's going to happen in this fight. And I don't want to let that kind of influence my whole opinion about these two. Because here's the thing. You have Jared Cannonier, 15-6. 8-6 in the UFC. And then you have Sean Strickland, 12-4 in the UFC. Only one loss in the middleweight division. A lot of impressive wins against a lot of top guys. Here's the thing. Sean Strickland is ranked number 7 and Jared Cannonier is ranked number 3. So what's the difference between these two guys? And why am I picking Jared Cannonier to win by knockout? Or by decision? Well, here's the thing. Jared Cannonier, powerful guy. Everybody knows this. Super powerful. Ultra powerful. If we look at the guys he's fought since going into middleweight, Anderson Silva. Way out of his prime, but it's Anderson Silva. Jack Hermanson. Robert Whittaker, which even though he lost, he still got that experience against Robert Whittaker. I feel like when you fight Robert Whittaker in middleweight, you just evolve. Something changes about you. We're seeing it about Marvin Vettori now with his new training. He's got a win over Kelvin Gastelum. He knocked out Derek Brunson as well. After he was losing the fight, he was able to come back and knock out Derek Brunson. Just with his power. It was just the power that was able to give him that comeback. His power and his determination and his will to get the title shot. Then he got it. Obviously, he lost the fight. But a title shot is a title shot. Still. And now we move on to Sean Strickland. We look here. Wow, very impressive. We look at middleweight. He's got wins over Brendan Allen, Krzysztof Jotko, Uriah Hall, Jack Hermanson, which was a split decision, but he still won that fight. It was able to really get him to that level, or propel him to that stage that he needed in order to be at the popularity and at the ranking that he is at right now. He was ranked number 4 for a time. And the whole thing that stopped that was the first round knockout loss to Alex Pereira. So we look at both of these guys and you think, well, look at Jared Cannonier, jacked, absolutely jacked, used to be a heavyweight, so much power behind his hands. Look at Sean Strickland, bald, hairy, dad-looking guy. Why is this fight so close in the odds, in the betting odds? Why are a lot of people putting money on this guy over this guy here on the left? And to be honest with you, I don't have a good answer for you. Yes, it could be said like Sean Strickland has able to overcome the odds before against Jack Hermanson, against Uriah Hall, against guys who are very able to beat him but haven't been able to. Versus Jared Cannonier, who has gone against a lot of guys who have been able to beat him in all weight classes, in heavyweight, in light heavyweight, and in middleweight. But if you look at it, actually, in middleweight, he's 5-2 and hasn't been knocked out. Sean Strickland in middleweight, I couldn't really tell. Most of his fights are at middleweight anyways. If you look at his losses, besides the Alex Pereira fight, all these losses came in a different division. I'm pretty sure they came in welterweight. But he only has one loss at middleweight, which was against Pereira in his last fight, his most recent fight, that he got pretty badly knocked out in, versus Jared Cannonier, who took virtually no damage in his last fight, which was on the same day. Both of these fights were on the same day. And Sean Strickland having the hand injury just 2 months prior, plus just everything with what's been happening there. The way I see this fight going, it has to be a win for Jared Cannonier. Now, how does he win and in what round? It's possible that it gets drawn out to some kind of unanimous decision. Honestly, I don't think so. I think it's more likely that a knockout ends up happening, and I think it'll be either in the 2nd, 4th, or 5th round. I'm just kind of drawn between those. But you know what? I'm going to just go for it. I'm going to say it's been a very popular trend this year. A lot of 5th round crazy comeback finishes, in some of these main events. Maybe we'll see in the last main event of the year. I'm saying 5th round knockout from Jared Cannonier. Some kind of finish with multiple punches that either sets Strickland out cold or just sets him super dizzy and wobbly and rocked and sends him down, obviously. But these are my predictions for Jared Cannonier versus Sean Strickland. This is one of the harder fights to predict, honestly. I'm a little bit less confident in these picks than I was in some of my previous fighter picks. For example, the Derek Lewis, Sergey Spivak undercard. I got all those predictions right. I was super confident with my picks because they were all fights that I knew one person or the other was just going to win. But with this fight, or with this card, they made sure to bring in a lot of high-level guys that were very, very evenly matched. So I appreciate that from the UFC a lot. There were a lot of close fights to call. And super excited for this event. I'm going to be watching it. I'm going to be, just taking in all this UFC content before the whole 3-week break. And after the 3-week break, it's just kind of going to be, what happens next for this channel? What am I going to do without these prediction videos and these review videos? Well, I've got some different ideas. Probably going to do some week-by-week analysis of things that happened during the week of UFC stuff. Even without the events, it's just kind of like a week review. Since these predictions are kind of like the week review, and then the review of the card is kind of like the week starter. Every week At the end, I'm probably going to have just like a review of everything that happened. Fighters getting signed, fighters getting cut, past events, fighters getting scheduled to fight, fights getting canceled, you know, just things like that. Altercations, drama, contracts, whatever it may be. And yeah, this video is a bit too long, 35 minutes. If my voice sounds kind of off, I apologize. There's just been so much school midterms, studying and shit and all that. I had to get a bunch of tests done today before the midterms just so that they could finish like the unit or the chapter or whatever in every class. So I'm kind of low on sleep. Maybe that's why I don't sound super energetic in this video. I'm trying my best. I'm new to this whole scene of YouTube or whatever. I've only been doing this for like a month. So, and even the growth on the channel has been really good. We're already at 7 subs. We've already gotten some pretty good views on a lot of videos. So really happy about that. Happy about the people that stay tuned and kind of just like, you know, they put up with my bullshit and all that. So I appreciate everybody who watches this video, even if you just clicked on for a second just to scroll through the next videos and you saw one that was way more interesting and you clicked that one anyways. I appreciate you because you gave me your attention for just a little bit of time. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just kind of rambling because this is going to be the last card prediction of the year. It's going to be the last card prediction for a few weeks as well. So I just want to get as much out there as possible. And yeah, predictions from here on out, they're not going to be super long. I'm going to try to keep them more short and condensed. And yeah, last event of the year. Go vote in the polls right now. Just give the vote to whichever nominee you think deserves it most. And thank you all.